Hey guys, welcome back. Have a little bit of a how-to video today. Basically, I've had a lot of clunking going on. Basically, as I change directions or as the truck kind of shifts down, like maybe to a down to a stoplight or whatever it might be. It's been going on for quite a long time and I haven't been able to figure out what's going on with it, but kind of been able to figure out basically the front drive shaft was stuck in the transfer case and was not allowing it. Basically, there's a slip yoke on there just like there is on the back, a little bit different, but it still is able to move back and forth a little bit. And basically could not get the dumb thing out. Basically it was rusted on there, seized up. Basically that is poor maintenance on my part. I have never taken it out, greased it up, that kind of stuff. It's just something that I never really thought about, you know. And basically this is just a warning to you. If you have not, pull your front drive shaft, clean it up, clean the splines up, and grease it up. Make sure that that boot is full of grease as well. Especially if you run any kind of water, salt, snow, whatever it might be. Make sure that you are pulling that down and greasing it. However, if you're in this case, I'll show you what I did. All right guys, so this is pretty redneck, but hey, if it works, it's not stupid, right? So essentially, you know, this comes in right from the front of the transfer case, just above it there. And all I really did was I took a ratchet strap, I hooked it onto the front tow hook, brought it underneath the truck, you know, because the drive shaft is hanging down there a little bit, and looped it through the U-joint there and tightened it up. And even with it, got it really, really tight and it would not budge. So then, purely because I was too lazy to then go back and get hammer, I just used a big crowbar and tapped on the yoke itself. Just give it a little bit of extra vibration there while it was under tension. I was able to get it to pop. I had to do that a couple of times, but we're laying on the ground, right? So that's great. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. We're gonna go ahead and just replace all the U-joints on this thing, just while it's down, probably paint it up here quick. Clean up the splines inside there, and just grease the crap out of everything. And make sure before I put it all back together that I can get it to slide in and out to the full range there before I put it back together. All right guys, so we made it out to the farm, went to O'Reilly's at the same time, got some new U-joints. Got our nice F250 already up here on jack stands that we just bought, so that's great. In all reality, it's just something with the suspension, no big deal. So anyway, got this guy down here on the vise here. Now these are, you can tell these are the OEM joints because they are still using the little plastic locks that GM decided to put into these front drive shafts here. So the way to get these out, it's kind of hard to tell a little bit. Basically, the U-joint actually doesn't have like an actual clip on the top. It just has these little plastic locks on each side. Same thing on the bottom. Right there, right there. And now before you can press those out, you have to heat these up, basically burn them out. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And other than that, it's basically just a normal U-joint change. Probably won't show all of it, but that's the biggest part of it there is you have to burn those out and then you can press them out. You guys can see here, there's a lot of extra fire here because there is a lot of grease. You know, there's a lot of excess grease in the area, so just be very, very careful. Basically, all you need to do is heat up that area so it's hot enough that it will melt all the plastic away so that it's no longer holding the U-joint in place. Now that we have this done, we can take it over to the vise and push them out. All right, so that's just the process of getting them out. I'm gonna go ahead and do this side now. Obviously, there are 4 to get out here, not just the 2 on that side. So I realized I did not actually film me pressing them out on the first one, so I will go ahead and do that probably when it's just this single guy here. Just so you can show that a little bit better. Basically, once again, we need to melt these. You get those out, and we'll go ahead and press them out. And once everything's done, then we can start putting them back together in the reverse order. All right, guys, so while the actual yoke was cooling off, I went ahead and put one on the side in here. This is the side that will actually go to the front diff. So now we can go ahead and go on to to this guy here. One other thing I did not mention, definitely make sure you do this before you take this side apart. Mark them so that they go back together the same way. Whether or not that 100% matters, I'm not sure, but there is a balancing weight on the shaft itself, so go ahead and make sure that you put this on the same way no matter what. Other than that, good to go. We'll go ahead and take this guy apart. All right, so I'm sure that somebody will crucify me for the way I'm doing this, but this is how I've always done U-joints and it tends to work. So basically, we have a press here. If you don't have a press, you can use the tool that you can rent from your local auto parts store. You might even have one. Basically, put it in the press, put a socket that is larger than the cap that you're trying to press down into it on the bottom, and then put a socket that is smaller than the hole that you're trying to push it out of on the yoke itself. And basically just use that to push it out, and you'll push the bottom one out into the socket. Once you get it almost all the way out, you can grab the pliers, then wiggle it out the rest of the way, then flip the thing over and do the exact opposite. Push it the other way then to get the other cap out, and the spider will fall out after that. Now we just need to flip this back over, realign this back into its hole, and then we'll push it the other way to get this cap back out, and then we'll be able to get the spider to pop right out of it. And there we go. See, it's nice and smooth, rolls back and forth. There's a little snap ring that goes in a groove on the inside, on each side of this. See, there's nothing on the outside of these like there's on the rear U-joints. Now these little plastic things are no longer doing anything for us. So basically we'll snap those in right there. This will be good. Like I say, you can see this is nice and smooth. It's not too tight, and it's not real floppy like they would have been when if they're dry. So this one's good to go. Basically, we just need to put this back on the actual shaft itself using the top and bottom here. Once again, we'll line those up wherever the mark is, right there. With the mark that's on the drive shaft, we'll be good to go. All right, so we are finally done. So it's firm, but not too firm. Back and forth both ways. This guy moves a little bit too, so that's good. Just remember this, put these little clips on here, you can see where those go. Those will be used basically on the little clamps that hook it onto the actual differential there. Other than that, we are in good shape. Went ahead and put the grease zerks in, greased them up both good before I put it all together. That way it's a little bit easier to get to. We can go ahead and get that cleaned up. Basically, so to clean up these splines a little bit more yet, we can go ahead and do the same thing to the other ones. They're in the actual differential. So we'll go ahead and get back to the house, get that done. All right, so everything's back in place now. I've cleaned up all the splines, both on the interior and the exterior there. Basically just lube the living snot out of everything here. Basically, you cannot put enough in there. Basically, kind of almost put a lot in that boot there too. Essentially, basically that boot is, once it's shoved back there, everything's gonna kind of seal up there. And you wanna put as much lubricant in there as you can, just so it does not dry out over time. Especially, I would recommend maybe do this like once a year, probably, kind of thing. Anyway, basically this thing I've already tested out. I pulled it back down just to be able to show it a little bit. Basically all you need to do there now is just push it back all the way until that boot snaps on, and then put it on in the front there, and we're good to go. So basically, guys, this is just a kind of a warning here. It's something real easy to overlook. I clearly did. And just make sure that you take this thing down every once in a while, lube it up, make sure that it's still loose and free and able to slip back and forth, or else it will kind of catch. And think about it, if that cannot move back and forth, it puts a ton of load against the differential and on the transfer case there. That just really is unnecessary. So anyways, guys, that's about all we got. Basically, I'm gonna put this back together here, check it out, make sure that we're good to go, and that'll be it. That's it for tonight, guys. Really hoping we get the truck out here pretty soon. I know it's already almost June here. We are still trying to get through planning. If you're from the Midwest, it has just been a ridiculous spring so far. We're still trying to get corn and beans in the ground. It's just been unbelievable. So yeah, I'm really hoping to be able to get the truck out soon. We'll see, as well as the BMW. I promised my wife that I would not touch it as far as putting any mods to it, but we'll see how long that lasts. So there might be some BMW videos coming up here in the future. But anyway, I'm really hoping that pretty soon we can get the truck back out. It is almost pulling season. I know it has already started, sort of, but I'm hoping to be able to get out and do a little bit with it here as things slow down. We'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you have not already. Other than that, have a great night and happy Memorial Day. Have a great one.